Hey guys, welcome back to the Catalyst Conversation. Again, it is a podcast to discuss anything about startups and everything about businesses as well. Today, it is my extreme honor to have Wong
Pleasure.
with us today. And of course, I think everyone will be very interested, and I myself very interested to know. So, just for the listeners' sake, you actually was my lecturer back in those days, right?
Many years ago.
Yeah, many years ago. Yeah. So you have built multiple ventures. I still remember back then when during the classes you mentioned it, you started a business at a very young age, right? So maybe you could, we can start this whole conversation by you sharing your entrepreneurial journey, right? What motivates you to start a business at a very young age?
Sure. So I guess just as a form of introduction, I started my first company at the age of 17.
Yeah.
That was when I would just enroll into uni, college. In fact, I was in foundation. And it was a time where the startup scene wasn't really a thing yet. Everybody was still talking about startups. But that was the moment I realized that I had to do something different compared to my peers.
Yeah.
So long story short, right? Actually, I didn't plan to become an entrepreneur. Starting businesses wasn't even a thing. I didn't start off thinking that I want to be the next Elon Musk, I want to be Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, make a ton of money, fly a private jet. It was never like that.
Okay.
It was never ever, because my background, I come from a very ordinary Malaysian family.
Yeah.
No rich background, no business background. In fact, I wasn't one of those star students. I wasn't a scholar. I wasn't anything like that, right? So if you take up the typical checkbox of a successful entrepreneur, right? I have none of those.
Okay.
I started out really literally from scratch. But what motivated me to start was really some level of curiosity.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that I started at the age of 17, right? I remember very clearly I was in the college orientation program, right? So as per orientation, all the students were in the same room, and they were introducing the program and things like that. When I looked around, this interesting thought came to my mind. This thought was along the lines of, upon graduation, all these guys, right, will become my competitors in the workplace. Yeah. They have the same degrees. We are going through the same classes. What would set me apart? What would help me get a job, right? So automatically, a few thoughts came to mind. Number one, I could go do a part-time, work at McDonald's, go and flip some burgers, go and give out flyers, at some events and things like that. But then, how would this help me?
Yeah.
Right? Everybody could do the same job, and then it's just a part-time thing. Sure, I made some money. But what kind of real experience would it give me in my CV in the future? So probably, okay, maybe not. Maybe I should just study hard, get a GPA 4, just get a first class honors. Maybe that will help me stand out. But then again, I'm not the most studious of all.
Yeah.
My friends could do a whole lot better than me, right? So again, that's out. And then I thought joining a club, become a president or something, but all this didn't really make sense. So I thought, let me just try create something on my own. I'm just going to explore, right? So I did an IT degree, and within the IT school, I thought maybe I should just explore something with IT. And the easiest for me back then was literally just to start something that I could service my friends in.
Okay.
So being kind of like an IT geek, back then I had a small little dream, like maybe one day I will grow up and open a hardware store selling IT parts in Lau Yat.
Yeah.
Right. That's like every IT degree is kind of Lau Yat Plaza at that point of time, right? But I didn't have the capacity to do so. So I started off just servicing my friends' PCs, basically.
Okay.
Helping them to optimize their PC speed, format their PCs and things like that. So that was the start of it all. I charged ringgit per service. And this service eventually grew. Which means, right, I started off really just by pure curiosity and wanting to get a job in the future. It wasn't a business in mind. In fact, I didn't even realize that I needed to register a company to start a business. So I was kind of running it, quote unquote, illegally in the beginning. It was only many months later, then somebody spoke to me and said, "Hey, Jen, how's your business?" I'm like, "Business?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. This is kind of like a business." And then I figured out that I need to register it. And then the rest is pretty much history.
Wow. So technically you are servicing your classmates and so on.
Yeah.
Like, do you approach them? Do you tell them, hey, this is something you can do? Or maybe you share like how does you get your first sale?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said, right? So basically, I would just go, because it's an IT uni, right? So everybody kind of hold their own laptop. So I just go around and say, "Hey, your laptop a bit slower.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something we can do, like give me $5, I know how to make it faster, I can speed it up, I can overclock, throw some of these keywords." But the reality is, I'm glad now it's like many years past, I can finally reveal the secret. I didn't know how to do any of this.
Okay.
So I got the deal.
Yeah.
I got the $5. I go back. My best friend is Google and YouTube. And I learned on the job. basically. So the first few PCs were all guinea pigs. So sorry if there's somebody outside there. Then I helped them in the early days, right? But that's the reality of things, right? So I figured it out along the way. Of course, over time I got better. But news spread. So when I help a couple of friends started referring their friends. So it's no longer my class. It's class of my juniors or class of my seniors. Lecturers started coming in as well. So the business kind of grew organically, very small. So from $5, it became $10, $10 to $15. It went from optimizing PCs to eventually selling thumb drives, thumb drive to external hard drives, external hard drives to custom built CPUs, and it's slowly evolved all the way up. Yeah.
Wow. And back then, I think that's like a thing for everyone because everyone still use hard disks. And my school days,
that's right.
1 terabyte hard disk.
Correct.
In my assignment as well.
Correct.
It's very, very smart. So besides, this is how you started. And I believe along the way, you have went into a lot of ventures. And I think one noticeably, which is open minds.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe you can share your journey. So what takes you, from having this curiosity and then you started, and then that's where you begin to really venture the business. Done this at a very young age, even after you graduated, and then all the way to today. Open minds.
So the thing is, many people don't realize that from the first company to open minds, right? It's a 7-company journey.
Yeah.
Right. So many people look at today's version of Gen Wong and say, hey, you started open minds, you're doing all these things in so many countries, right? How do you know what to do and what really happened? But they did not know that there are 7 companies before. The first company, which is the formatting, that one, actually grew to quite a size and managed to exit, right? So it was quite a good story.
Yeah.
But the 6 companies after were an utter failure.
Okay.
Right. And it was at that time, the learning curve was the steepest. I learned the most. So in terms of management, in terms of the finances part, who to work with, how to work with, what are the processes involved, all the way to identifying markets and developing marketing skills for myself. It all happened within this journey.
Yeah.
So at the age of the start of Open Minds, right, it was literally just a realization that the market has a very obvious gap.
Yeah.
So to me at that point of time, because I was already with my previous businesses working with some corporate clients, a lot of the conversation revolves around how can I make tech more relevant to my business. So Open Minds is 12 years old as of today, 2024. Right? So 12 years ago, it was still, I don't know how many people remember this, right? But it was still a time where marketing and technology was kind of isolated in 2 different worlds. We are looking at the IT guys really being labeled as geeks. They're always put out to a corner of a building. Nobody really cares about them. They probably don't see daylight, And then you have the marketing guys that are a more creative bunch of people. But as a business owner or CEO of companies like this, they always want collaboration, but they don't know how to make this work because of mindset, because of left brain, right brain, whatever you label them, right? So I thought that, hey, I somehow didn't go through this challenge myself. And I asked myself, what was the reason, right? I attribute it back to my degree, which was in IT. Okay. And then I started building these business skills as I go upon. So I kind of understand both worlds. So then this thought came, right? This idea sparked it. What if I'm able to help companies connect marketing and technology? What if I can help tech teams understand marketing and marketing also to be more understanding towards tech to create some sort of a synergy together? Okay. And that was the birth of Open Minds.
Wow. And that kind of so-called like inspiration, and you realize that problem that you want to solve is through the 6 businesses that you have tried by putting to corporates, clients, and so on.
That's right.
Wow, great. So I want to go back to your 6 businesses. I really like what you say, right? You say, hey, everyone people have seen Gen Wong, Open Minds, and all the success that you have, with Open Minds. When you've gone through the 6 entrepreneur journey, going 6 venture, and maybe some succeed and some fail. Yep. So what maybe you share to listeners, because most of them are going to be like founders to be or maybe a current founders. Maybe it shares a experience that you still remember that really shapes you, in terms of the lesson that you learned through that 6 venture journey that then helps you to really grow Open Minds today to become like a so-called MNC today in different countries.
Actually, there are a lot of different examples that could make up a whole podcast session by itself, right? But I think that there are a few that stand out. I think one is the ability to work with people or to set the right expectations, especially with your partners. So when I use the word people, I refer to your partners, your co-founders, all the way into the people that you hire, your team members, and then maybe the people that you work with, freelancers and all of that, right? All those are very different profile of people. But I realized that it's very important as a business owner to set expectations very clearly upfront. And some people will hear this advice, right? And they'll say that, hey, come on, I mean, that's no-brainer, right? But I realized that it's actually a more common mistake than we thought. Why I say that is because, for example, let's talk about partners, right?
Yeah.
Out of the 6 failures, 2 to 3 of them failed because of partnership expectations. So you expect me to have learned from the first, but no, that's repeated. And that's how I found a pattern. And I realized that it could be so simple because I went into partnership with good friends, right? And that's supposed to be a good combination. We know each other. I can trust you with my life, that kind of thing. In fact, one of my business, I went into a business with this close friend of mine. It's even a family friend. We kind of grew up together. We see each other since babies. Our parents knew each other. It's almost like we can finish off each other's sentences, that kind of. And we thought that it's an unbreakable bond. We're going to do this business together. Long story short, today we're no longer friends. I don't even know where he is, whether he's alive. Because of that partnership dispute, we have never spoken.
Okay.
And it's been like maybe close to 2 decades right now, which is insane, right? And this came up because we took each other for granted. He thought that he has the ability to make certain decisions that I would definitely agree because he knows me, and I can do certain things without consulting him as well because he would understand, right? And sometimes it's a mismatch of even what we want to achieve together in the company. If both of us go into business together, I may see that, I'm going to work on this long term. I want to make this into a successful business. We're going to get rich. We're going to pay ourselves well. But that other guy come in and say, actually, this is just my part-time thing. Right? I'm just here to have fun. I have some gap year. I just want to take things easier for a bit. And I'll figure out my life again in the coming year.
Yeah.
And that will also break the company. And that's exactly what happened to one of my businesses as well. I only realized 2 years in that this guy is just here chilling around because he doesn't want to work, don't want to get a full-time job and doesn't know what to do with life, and therefore just decide to work with this for fun, earn some pocket money, and that's it. And when the time came and opportunity came, this was the first thing he cut. And I was left defenseless, and this business just had to close.
Okay.
Right? So people took a big part of the entire picture. The other part is really just business in general, right? Which comes first? Should I build a perfect product and then I sell, or should I start selling at what they call at the MVP stage? How do I do validation? How do I do testing? How do I market it? How to do SEO? All of that came through this 6 businesses as well.
I like to touch on the partner part, right? Which is there's a saying, right? Today, finding a co-founder or finding a business partner, it's like a marriage, right? You need to find the right partner, or else divorce, right, happens. So whereas you learn, some of the mentors that they also encourage me is to really deep dive into the partners, someone they want to work with. And it's something that's very hard because, like you said, close friends, I also have close friends that you think is going to work. Yeah. But maybe close friends are the ones that not work. So, since, we have listeners listening, founders to me and for myself, it would be great, if you can share, like, what are because you went through the 6 wedges, or what are some of the ways, like open minds definitely something that you succeed. So I appreciate the 6 wedges does hunt you a little bit when you actually know open minds, right?
Of course.
So what makes you decide to partner with your co-founder in open minds, and what kind of maybe your advice they can share, like some of the qualities, some of the tips that today we on a regional business, whether he's looking for investment, VCs as well as for co-founder, that we should look for. Yeah.
I think some people overplay this search of VCs or co-founders. I like how we started this question, right? You talk about how it's like marriage. Yeah. And if you talk about marriage as the end goal, you don't start off with marriage, right? You start off with the dating phase, there's an engagement phase, and then before the dating phase, there's a get to know, let's be friends kind of things, right? And I think that's the basis of even the relationship in business, whether it's with VCs, whether it's with potential clients, or whether even it's with your co-founders, is to start off with that get to know each other's face first. Okay. Which means that you may be looking for someone like that right now, or you may not, but you should not just stay at home. Yeah. You need to also be present to go out and meet people. Why? It's because through the conversations, you will somewhat know whether this person has a similar vision with you, right? When you know a person a little bit more, you know the kind of values. Can you work with this guy or not? Is he just a good guy to chat with? Or does this also show certain level of qualities or disciplines or values that you can synergize for? And when you can, then you take the relationship further, right? You start working on some small things together. Can we test run a project? Can we discuss further, explore this? You seed the idea and see if the idea reciprocates, right? And if you think about this versus the love relationship, right? It's pretty much like that, right? After the chatting phase, and then, should we go to the movies together, right? Should we go have dinner together? Then we start talking, do you want to be my boyfriend, my girlfriend, right? So you kind of slowly build that relationship. And then once you feel that, this partnership kind of works, right? We had a good time working on this small little project together. We discussed the idea. I think he fits, he's what I'm looking for. Then you can go into the mode of incorporation and say, okay, now we're going to do this seriously. And now because we're doing this seriously, here are expectations. What are your expectations of me? What are my expectations of you? What are our collective expectations for the company too? And then when all this is laid out, that helps the company to remain steady through the years. The biggest mistake that many people make, right, is they only start looking when they want to start something. And that's always a mistake. Why? Because you can't build relationships so quickly. And it's also very dangerous, right? So you're going out there, you're looking for the right person everywhere. Then when you find somebody because of your desperation maybe to get into that relationship, you may end up just gunning through at the wrong things. And that is also why relationships sometimes, obviously there will be some success stories. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you are already thinking in the long term that this is something that you may like to build, it's never too soon to start.
To start networking,
you put yourself out there, because it's not just about you looking for the right person. You have to be the right person for somebody else as well, right? And other people need to spend time knowing you too. So you need to also be out there. So we talk about open minds just now, right? So open minds in the beginning, including me, there's 5 of us. So 5 co-founders, right? So the interesting thing is that so take away me, the 4 other partners, 3 of them were actually my college assignment group mates. We worked together before in uni, and every time the 4 of us came together, we always scored well. There was good synergy. Nobody was late for group meetings. We presented well together. We covered each other's weaknesses. And somehow I developed this ideal situation with them back in uni, right? So after graduation, we all went our different ways. I was doing my thing. They all joined good corporate companies. But when the time the open minds came, somehow when I asked myself, who do I need working with me? These faces appeared, right? So I was, let's say, like a flashback, like, wow, this guy, during this time, he was able to cover my weakness. So that allowed me to go in and immediately approach them. But it all went back all the way to my student uni days where we had good experiences with. So again, it's never too early. You really do not know. It's better to put yourself out there to gain that kind of a network. Not only when you really need it.
That's really a very good story. I mean, your sharing is so good. So, again, you're right. I agree that today, it's not that you're looking for the right partner, you also have to be the right partner, right? And it's so amazing to hear that, today, Open Minds co-founders, most of them are actually your assignments made. It's amazing. So if you're studying, you're going to be a good student.
Exactly.
But again, so when you approach them, maybe you can tell us a bit of story. When you approach them, like how does it work? Like, does that straight away, right away, hey, yes, this is something I want to do? Because you're mentioning that all of them are in corporate. So and today, I also was in corporate. It was very hard to break a corporate mindset to a startup or even starting a business because you're comfortable again, this and that. So how does the whole conversation and also, like you guys come together and really build this minds?
That's an interesting point, right? Because how we draw this example with relationship, it's the same thing, right? So now in this situation, I know them. So that's one barrier. I didn't need to network from scratch. But that doesn't mean I can just give them a call and say, hey, Jeffrey, which is one of my co-founders, do you want to join my company? Obviously, the answer is going to be no, right? Or rather, he will listen to you and then, or maybe this guy's trying to sell me something and what, right? So I needed to enter the so-called courting phase as well. So in the early days, I had to actually speak with them individually over multiple meals, right? I was trying to re-establish the friendship, the confidence. I was also trying to find out what they're doing at a job, whether they are happy at their struggles, what are their future goals, So this, although it sounds very straightforward and short, but it happened over a course of minimum 6 months to a year. Some of them came in earlier, some of them came in a bit later as well. But they all required to align the vision with me, right? So what I was doing is that, like how we said, I need to be a good partner too. So in all those sessions, I was also trying to share with them my values, what I think we should be doing, where the industry is going, and why what I have in mind is significant. Right? So I was really trying to, quote unquote, appeal, trying to help them see the vision as well, to get them on board the vision as well. And some of them said yes, but they cannot let go of their corporate jobs immediately, just like how we said, right? Because we understand the corporate jobs can be well-paid, stable. Coming to this could mean that there's no income, which is true. We really had no income in the early stage, right? But because I really wanted them on board, I gave them a deal. I said that, okay, you work on this part-time. Are you willing to work on this part-time? But when we hit a certain milestone, you have to come over. So you see, setting expectations again, right? And they were very kind to also agree to say, okay, because it's you, because I'm here, I also believe it, but because of financial constraints or family constraints and all that, I cannot. But when we reach there, I promise I'll come aboard. And some of them did that basically. So all of them came on board eventually.
Wow, great. I want to touch a little bit on the scaling up because, like I said, back days when you still lecture, and I believe that you just started probably a little bit on your minds, and now it's already in 4 countries. So if we can share, like, I mean, I believe that every entrepreneur, like, as someone like Jude has went to different venture, and then, as mentioned, Open Minds is the creation of the experience that you have in the past. So maybe you can share, like what kind of so-called like validation, or maybe a moment where you're like, all right, this is something that I know that it's working. I know that it's going to grow.
Well, I think it all started off with the first validation. So we talk a lot about how Open Minds has started and the partners and all that, right? But one of the main turning points was literally me and my partners agreeing that we will not even incorporate the company if we have yet to close the first client.
Wow, okay.
Right, and that was a very conscious decision that we have done. So that means that in the beginning, we are not talking about let's incorporate and let's just, this was a social media, now we have a new company. It's not about raising funds, it's about getting our first client first. So we were very intentional. So in the beginning, there were a lot of pitches, there was client meetings, and the whole idea was to close the client. And remember, in this particular client that we had, right, we actually closed the deal, but we didn't know how to charge. So what we did is that I made a phone call to Maybank. I called and asked what is the minimum to start a current account. They told me dual review ringgit, 2,000 ringgit, right? And that was what we charged.
Okay.
And the client wrote us a check of 2,000 ringgit. That was a check we used for incorporation and to bank into the bank account so that we now have a Sendirian Berhad.
Okay.
Right. So I think this is a very simple example of how we validate it based on real results. And not just ideation on paper, which unfortunately, I think seems to be the trend right now, where we always try to put out certain false validation, in my definition, right? We kind of inflate the valuation, and we always try to have the mindset of, well, let me raise funds first before I start my company. Let me find an investor to put money in before I start the company, which to me, it's a bit strange because entrepreneurs are supposed to kind of create money, right? They're able to create a business that's able to attract funds and not get funds to start. Because think about it, if entrepreneurship or starting a business is driven by getting funds, then start, right? But anybody has funds can start. Right? So how is that entrepreneurship? You are just a professional fundraiser. But if you give the fund to anybody can start. Right? But what's the requirement for sustainable and a business that's able to scale is a company that's able to validate its business model from the upfront. And I think it's because we are able to do that, we managed to realize a few things. Number one, we are bootstrapped since day one until now. 12 years in, we have not raised a single dollar from an investor, because we are profitable since day one, and we know exactly how to make money. Because we tested it. We know this what exactly clients are willing to pay for, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about when was the decisive point to scale and all that, to us, it was experimentation of which model worked, which model that client were willing to pay. That is the direction that we scaled in. So over the past 12 years, right, Open Minds have experimented in different forms of scaling. Of course, most of it result in failure, right? Those are the ones that no choice, burn money, burn resources, but it's part of the process we recognize. But those that allow us to break out of our comfort zone, those are the ones that brought us this far.
Yeah. Again, very good insight, Greg. So, and I really like the point that they really open up my mind, and I think a lot of founders' mind today. You're right. Today, it is always, like, hey, I want to join Accelerator on a network, co-founder, raise fund, just to build a product. It's not even selling, right?
Yeah.
So I think that today's investors as well as serial entrepreneurs like you are also questioning, like, hey, is there like a gap, in terms of today the modern entrepreneurs? Like, is it so much more on raising fund first, or the focus is so much on the product, developing the next AI product or the next best product, where you spend so much money and yet you get a sale, right? So maybe you can share a bit on advice, like I really like what you said, right? Everyone got a fund, they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
Why you? So it really opens up, I think, my eyes as well. So when it comes to Open Minds, right, you say you bootstrap from day one, right? And I'm pretty sure there's somehow in during journey there's people want to invest, because when your business is earning money, there's always people want to invest, right?
That's right.
Very common. But I would like to hear me more. It's like what makes you really so? I mean, yes, there's validation in terms of the first sale, but I'm pretty sure there's also saying that to grow the business, you need cash flow. Yeah. So how do you balance actually the really like making sure that you guys are still manage to sustain and grow, and then not going for fundraising when it's not needed?
So there are a few parts here, right? When it comes to sustaining cash flow, because of the first validation that was successful, it was very clear to us what we need to do to replicate this sale, right? Because if a client purchases our service, and it's a new service 12 years ago, today not so new anymore, but 12 years ago is very new in the market. But if the client sees a fit, right, that opens up a lot of possibility for us in different range, right? It could be pricing, right? If he's willing to pay 2,000, there potentially there will be somebody that's also willing to pay 2,000. It could be a pricing.
Yes.
Or it could be us in the pitch answering the right problems that we are able to provide solutions for. And we will then be able to find other people with similar problems. Or it could be an industry thing.
Yeah.
If somebody in this industry says yes, I'm pretty sure there will at least be somebody else, another client in the same industry facing a very similar problem, right? So that's why the first validation was very important. The moment we knew what fit, we just need to find who else fit this picture.
Okay.
Right. So that was a starting point. You're right. In the beginning, it was all about cash flow. We have 5 guys on board, some full-time, some part-time, because I haven't joined in yet. But we all knew that there is something over here. So we need to replicate first. So the first step was always replication. After that, then only it was scaling, right? Then only ask yourself, okay, how can we go from 2,000 to, let's say, 4,000? And then how can we go from 4,000 to 8,000?
Yeah.
Right. So all this comes in the scaling part of things. But you're right, it all starts with cash flow. How do you replicate success? Can we replicate success? And do we need to pivot along the way to make the success even better for us?
So what I get is that at the end of the day is really to perfect your so-called solution and then to replicate the success cases, and not so much on thinking about, okay, how much money I need to burn, accounting.
Yeah. So I think it's a mindset difference, right? So obviously, I also understand that there are some entrepreneurs and good friends of mine as well. They focus more on the burning part, right? So they say that, okay, if I burn more in a certain area, I'll be able to generate X amount of dollars. Now that is the difference, right? So when you burn with a purpose, and you know that you are able to generate certain things out of it. But the mistake that many people make is they only look at the burning part. They lose sight of the purpose part. Right? So they say, I spend marketing dollars. I need to do this. I'm starting a cafe. It needs to be Insta worthy, this and all that, right? But hey, You put that cloud-shaped looking lamp, right? Does it give you more sales? No. Do you know if it actually converts? Does nice Reno actually convert? You don't know.
Yeah.
But some of these guys, which are more experienced, when they burn, they know every dollar, at least maybe they make $1 back.
Yes.
Or they know that they're going to burn maybe only 20% or 30%. And this helps them in the future to double or triple revenue. Right? These are what some of the bigger companies are doing, like Grab and all that, right? They are burning money, but they burn knowing that that would one day translate to sale.
Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of the new entrepreneurs, they burn thinking that it's branding, thinking it's marketing. It will somehow come back. Without a proven business model, it would never come back. You are really putting your money out there and then crossing your fingers,
It will come back.
praying that, oh, please let me strike something, which unfortunately it doesn't happen as often as we like.
Agree. I'd like to touch a bit on that because today you manage quite a large team, right? You are in 4 different countries operations, and team does make a difference of company, right? And maybe you can share like how do you manage your team in terms of getting them really motivated? And what you said earlier, first what you have done is to get all the co-founders aligned with the vision, right? So then again, how do you get your team members to also align with the vision that you guys are driving to? Because today, as mentioned, you can have the same vision, but the team might not be running the same pace as you. To understand, we can share some of the leadership that you've done, not just to your co-founders, to your team members as well.
Sure. So there are a few things I want to touch on here, right? One, you talk about the speed of the team running with the founders. Over the many years of running businesses, I realized that it's sometimes close to impossible for the team to run at the same pace as the founders or even faster than the founders. It's unlikely, especially if you are a founder that is constantly innovating, constantly pushing. It's unlikely that the team will be able to keep up so closely, right? Which begs the next question on, well, like I said, vision, right? But here's the thing about vision. Many companies cast very good vision, right? We want to be the best in Malaysia, best in the world, we want to be top ranked, make the Forbes list or Fortune 500 or whatever. But the challenge that we realize as well is that some of these visions inspire founders and management, but not team members. Why? Because team members are just here to make a living. Right? Which means at Open Minds, we realized that there was a need to systemize our vision. To turn it more tangible, right? So when we laid out the vision, right, we asked ourselves, what is the ingredient that will inspire the team members to follow through the vision? How do we get them have a taste of what this vision really is, right? And we thought about a few things. Number one, we said that our workplace culture needs to be there. It needs to be strong. It needs to be there. And again, this is very vague. So we need to systemize this. So how do we do it? I remember very clearly with my co-founders in the early days, we were talking about what would be a dream workspace look like, right? So obviously you have your usual, let's have ping pong table, whatever, right? But other than that, we talk about things like, I like a company that I don't need to come in every day. I like a company that I come in, but I come in late, I go back early, right? I want a company that pays for my personal expenses on top of my salary, right? Sounds all crazy, right? At the time, we were like, ha, so funny, let's dream, But when we started, right, we realized that we were able to actually do some of these things. So 12 years ago, we already implemented hybrid working arrangements. Team members come in 3 days a week, fixed days, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Tuesday and Thursdays out of office. It's to the extent that we lock the office door. Even you want to come in, you cannot come in. We have shorter working hours. Instead of the 9 to 5, we do 11 to 6. And this 12 years ago, we're practicing it until today as well. So that people don't need to start in jam at 7 a.m. They just come in 11 o'clock, fresh, work, and then leave as well. We implemented a whole host of what we call the Open Minds perks. And these perks addresses 27 areas in a human being's life. All the way from giving you funds to buy your family dinner, because we want to appreciate your family. It's not just you, it's the people that support you working here as well, to different life stages. If you are an active guy, if you go for sports, we reimburse some of your sports every year. You're working in a tech company, we give you funds to upgrade your tech every year. When you get married, we give you funds to subsidize your wedding. When you give birth, we give you funds to subsidize hospitalization costs. When you work with Open Minds 3 years and you still cannot buy your first home, we give you some money to place a deposit for a new home in Malaysia. All the way up, different categories, even a fund for your personal travels, not business travels, personal travels because we think you require it, to your car servicing and money to buy a new shirt because we don't want everybody to keep wearing the same shirt for the next 5 years working with us, things like that, right? So we wanted to cover all these basic necessities to tell the team members that, look, this is a company that don't just talks about caring and fluffy office spaces, but we actually invest in your life beyond your salary. So your salary, you do what you want, but these are additional things you can unlock so that you can achieve what there's always talk about in a work-life balance. You see, because when we look at workplace today, we realize that the concept of work-life balance is so difficult to achieve because we all know economic situations and all that, and you have priorities. And the problem with priorities is that if my priority is to pay off loans, I wouldn't put up additional money to buy a pair of sports shoes. I won't. But now my company gives me 200 ringgit to buy a pair of sports shoes every year. And now then that makes a difference. Right? Now my company gives me 500 ringgit to buy clothes every year. It's fine, I can do a bit of shopping. My company gives me 1,000 ringgit to travel every year. A local trip will do. Right? But you still get to pay off your existing commitments. When we created a model like that, a structure like that, we saw team members rallying behind the vision more because now they realize that it's possible. Why? Because my life is being taken care of. I just need to come in and focus on delivering what I can do.
Great. Does that also increase the ownership that feel in your company? Because a lot of bosses will say, take it as your own company, take it as your own company, take it as your own company. The moment you achieve this, I pay you this much. But a lot of times they don't feel it. It's like, why should I take it as my own company? Because I'm an employee, I just get my pay. Yes, I deserve a bonus, of course, because I help you to achieve a milestone. And of course, again, it is a win-win situation. But I think does that what you do is like going beyond, like really making them as part of the family and kind of feeling, makes them to really take this business as their own. Like increase the ownership of them with your company.
To answer this question, I mean, the short answer is yes, right? But the longer answer would be, if you look at our company turnover, right? We are 12 years old. Our longest standing staff is 11 years. Okay, and we have a whole bunch at 8 years, 7 years, 5 years, and they are still with us. Even the so-called dreaded Gen Z that changed jobs 6 months and 1 year, right? Gen Z's in our company has been 2 years, 3 years in. No problem. And that speaks a lot about ownership. Because when we talk about ownership in Open Minds, it's not just about the job. Yes. So sure, job, do well, treat this as his own company. We take it even further. We tell team members, right, that if you have a business idea, come to us, we fund it, you become our subsidiary. And they become business owners with us. And that has happened, right? Some started something, they fail, then they come back, become so-called employee, but they've never left. They experimented within the safe grounds of Open Minds. But they explored this. Some, because they were high performance, they've stuck with us. We started a subsidiary with them. Open Minds have 5 subsidiaries under us, apart from the 4 countries. We have 5 other subsidiaries. We raised them up to be the subsidiaries, managing directors and shareholders of the company. Earlier this year, mid this year, we appointed 3 new BODs which are existing team members, into the Open Minds group, which sits right now on the same board as the original 4 founders. And that is the level of ownership that we're talking about. We are saying that if you stay and do your best and grow with us, literally the sky is the limit. You become owners of the company like us. And that has increased motivation. But I have to tell you honestly, of course, this comes with a cost as well, right? Some people cannot take it. And in fact, we have seen a lot that cannot withstand such a culture. They want to be in a place that's more structured, more governed, so they can produce steadily. Nothing is steady here, right? Because it's about you building and working, and then you're constant growing. So if you want stability, sorry, this is not the right place, right? And of course, we also have situations where people kind of, they're kind of shortchange us, right? They come in, enjoy the benefits, and then they just try to do funny things, right? And or take advantage of the entire company. We have people like that as well. But time quickly filters these people out, thanks to the other team members will have high level of ownership.
Okay. Wow. Said and I'm just curious, right? Because you're doing things very differently. Of course, we do hear bigger giants company, some company practicing this. But what inspired you to really like? I really like the subsidiary thing, right? It's you're right. Any company, everyone you hire, there's always someone that's not buying into it because they just want to work.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah, and maybe they're not right. But those that want to work, so your model is really like keeping those that really want to grow with you.
Yeah.
And because sometimes if they want to grow with you and you're not keeping them, they'll end up you lose the talent.
Yes.
So what inspired you to have this idea like this subsidiary thing, investing in that beyond this did someone mentor you saying this or did something happen to you before and then you got this inspiration that you wanted to grow and it's always within you that you want to grow a next generation?
I think there is a mix of few factors over here. I think what you said at the last bit of the question, something within me to invest in the next generation, that's very true. Because from my personal experience, when I first started my company in the earlier days, I was really trying to look for mentors. And in short, nobody mentored me. Right? So I had to make all the mistakes myself. And it was a promise I made to myself at a point of time where when I become a little bit more successful and if anybody comes to me for advice, I will always say yes. That was one of the main reasons I said yes to even teaching in the university, because the opportunity is given to me. I thought that, hey, this is a good chance for me to create a better impact. Hopefully, it was a good experience for you. But I like to think that I was able to contribute in the education sector this way, right? I was also still relatively new in entrepreneurship journey at that time. But over time, I get people DMing me, saying, hey, can we meet for coffee? As long my time permits, I've never said no.
Yeah.
To me, that is a way of giving back and to show support. So likewise, when this personal passion came into the company, plus other business experiences, right? So there's the dreaming part where I talked about just now as well with the fellow founders. But there's also the other part of saying that, hey, actually the core part of every business is people.
Yes.
You can have the best business model, but if you have terrible people working with you, right, that business won't fly. You may make money in a short term, but you will never be a sustainable, growing, scalable business.
Yes.
And talents are extremely difficult to find.
Yeah.
It has become more difficult today. Why? Because all the bigger companies are giving far better offerings that a lot of the local companies cannot compete.
Yes.
Right? So why lose talents?
Yeah.
If you have attracted somebody or you have spent so much money investing in talents that grew from, we have talents that grew from intern to now business owner with us, by the way, in the span of 5 to 6 years. So they came in as an intern, they became full-time, they worked their way to manager, now they are subsidiary and managing director for us. Why lose them? They are so good. If you let them out, somebody will snatch them up at this instant. In fact, most of our leaders in Open Minds get job offers left, right, center almost every other week. And we just need to believe that what we have set out is stronger than what other companies are doing. So with that said, right, this actually helps retain talent and direct the talent. Because when we ask ourselves, right, why do people leave a company? Okay, number one, obviously sometimes it's really personal circumstances. I've got no choice. The company offer me 5 times more salary than how to fight? Okay, please go, wish you well, right? Sometimes it's family circumstances. Because I'm moving out of the state, or now I need to fetch my daughter to school, or I just need a bit more flexibility because of family situation. Therefore, I cannot have a full time maybe. Or sometimes it's literally small offer, so I got 20% more there. People jump because of 20, 30%. And then sometimes it's to start my business.
Okay,
right. So out of these 4 situations they've put out, obviously we cannot solve this one. We need unlimited funds to be able to solve this one. Right. But we are able to solve hybrid working.
Yes.
Because anyway, of shorter working hours. We are able to solve a little bit on the whole 20-30% thing, because we are already start off with 20% more with the perks that we are giving you. So, and every year with the increment and all that, you are always ahead.
Okay.
Unless you fall into the first situation again. And then the last one is entrepreneurship. And with this setup, we are able to cater to this bunch of people as well. Now, you don't need to live into the unknown. Of course you can. That's what entrepreneurship is as well. But if not, if there's an alignment and synergy with us, why do yourself?
Yeah.
Let's start together.
Yeah. And it's a safe space.
And it's a safe space. That's right.
Wow. Really like how you deal with team members and people. Well, we're gonna end soon, of course. And maybe last word or a word of advice they can give to our listeners today, especially for young founders or students today. They want to be founders, want to start a business. They have a brilliant idea. They're just too afraid to start, or they're still in this, so-called the so-called founders vibes or hype, raise funds, all that. Then everyone call me about, but you don't earn money, right? So what advice can you give to us?
I usually give this same advice, which is the advice of to focus, and it's focused on 3 areas.
Yeah.
Number 1 is to focus on getting things done, right? So I'm not trying to debunk all those founders vibe and you want to be that sure, right? You want people to call you boss, sure, but make sure you make it happen.
Yes.
Right? That's why focus on getting things done. Whatever you dream of, right? Your imaginary, although I'm here to tell you that it's probably difficult to happen, but if you dream of it, you better try to get it done.
Okay.
Right? Because if you can get it done, you are getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? But most people dream and then they stop. They didn't focus on getting things done. The second focus is to focus on making progress. Why I say that is because sometimes we are very good in getting things done, but checking off our to-do list does not push us forward and make progress. I think a lot of us sometimes feel that, right? We feel so busy, but after 365 days in the year, right?
Yeah.
I'm still the same as 2023.
Yep.
How come? But I've done so much.
Yeah.
Why am I not making progress, right? So it's not just sufficient focusing on getting things done. You need to focus on making progress. Out of your list of things, are you making progress? In your business ideas, in the things that you're trying to do, you want people to call you boss. But after that, right, what is the next step of after calling you boss?
Yeah.
Are you making the progress? Is it, cash flow? Is it scaling? Is it sustainable? That's the second one. And the last one is to focus on yourself.
Yes.
When I say focus on yourself, I mean 2 things in general. One is to stop being jealous of other people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very easy to compare. I'm starting off, I can't pay myself well. I'm in this situation, I have so many limitations. Oh, but it's so nice to be Joseph. Joseph have all these things. Everything looks so well. He probably got a nice car. She stays in a nice place. She gets good holiday. I'm just a struggling guy. Luck is not on my side. And then you feel so depressed, but you're doing nothing wrong, right? It's just different phases of life, different phases of entrepreneurship as well. You want to focus on yourself to do the earlier 2 things. The other part of focus on yourself is exactly what we've been talking about in this particular podcast as well. I focus on my own vision and how I intend to build my company. Yeah. That's why when you and some others describe me as, Jen, you're doing this a bit unique, it's a bit different. To me, it's because I've been focusing on how I would like to build my company.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people have this preset template of what a company should be like.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it has to be a 9 to 5. I have to do this. How can you trust team members to only come in 3 days and 11 to 6? What if they hang out somewhere else, But it's your company. You wanted to be a boss, right?
Yeah.
And this is a chance for you to build something that it's on yourself. This is a chance for you to experiment. So don't lose that touch because, like you said earlier very correctly, if we look at the bigger, more successful companies, every bigger companies have their own touch.
Yeah.
Because there is a part where they focus on themselves.
Yeah.
Being just a Me Too product loses this third point. So focus on getting things done, focus on making progress, and focus on yourself.
Love it. Love it. One more question. What about today? I'm struggling. My business is like, okay, you know what? Has been 2 years and I'm not earning money. And maybe it's too shameful to exit.
Right.
And again, like I said, a lot of times you need failures to be successful, right? To be successful. So maybe what can you share on this? Like today, if someone are looking into quitting, but they're too afraid of because of maybe too shameful of or ego, or maybe it's fear of letting go of something. But sometimes letting go of something might open to new doors, right?
Yep.
So coming from you, there's a gone trade. We'd like to hear from you.
I think when it comes to it's a characteristic and mindset that entrepreneurs need to make to call it quits.
Yeah.
And there is actually nothing shameful in that, because if you think about it, what is it to be shameful about if you are exiting a company because you are cutting losses?
Yeah.
That is actually a win, because a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes they're making so much losses, right? And it's clearly in the wrong direction, but they don't know and they don't see, and they continue to bleed all the way through, only to be put at the forced stop.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be far worse? I mean, if you're talking about saving face, right?
Yeah.
Forcing yourself through in a clearly wrong path probably puts you up in, let's say, bankruptcy. Isn't that even more shameful? Isn't that a bigger blow to your goal? Rather than spotting in the beginning and say, okay, I think I've tried all I can, all I know. I've seeked all the help that I can, and I realize that it's in not my capacity to make this happen.
Yeah.
Let's divorce this amicably.
Yeah.
Right? I speak to my team members. I say, sorry guys, this is really not working out. I try my best to put you in other companies. I call up my friends, and then I dissolve the company amicably.
Yeah.
Right? That actually shows good strength of the entrepreneur, because you know when to call it quits and not bleed even more, and then after that, no choice but you're put to a all stop. So ego should not come into this place. There's nothing to be shameful for. It's really just part of the journey. Most entrepreneurs go through. I went through 6 failures, and it's really just part. And I'm still failing in some of our new subsidiaries coming up. We have 5, but by making to this 5, we have at least 12 failures before making to this 5.
Is it safe to say that failure is part of any startups and any companies, and it will just be a process of?
It will be a process, and everybody fails for different reasons. Right? Sometimes it's monetary, sometimes it's cash flow, sometimes it's business models not validated, spend too much time building a product, people, whatever it is. I think it's more of, at that point of time, before calling it quits, it's a process where entrepreneurs need to go through and ask yourself, have you really tried your best?
Yes.
Have you tried everything, right? If I'm giving you 24 hours a day right now to work on the business only, can you revive it? What would you do?
Yeah.
If your answer is, I've really exhausted everything. Yeah. I've looked at mentors. I've tried asking people for help. I've tried to do this, do that, but everything seems to not work out. And I don't have the capacity to revamp the business model. I don't know how to proceed anymore. Then sure, right? But even at the point of exit, there's so many things you can do, right? You can really choose to dissolve it amicably and just move on to a new business, which many entrepreneurs do. Or you can look for a suitable buyer.
Yes.
Right? Just to exit it. It doesn't need to be a 1 million, 10 million deal. I mean, my first business exited it for 5 digits only. Everybody thought that, I know Jen exited the first business, my filthy rich. I sold to a very big company, but I was also very small. With the sum they gave me, I was happy, right? Good enough, I just exit and okay, thanks, bye. I can move on to something else.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Right? So there are many ways that you can also consider this exit. It doesn't need to be, let me bleed to death before I say, don't take no for an answer, that kind of thing. Well, it's never the case.
Yes, agree. Well, I think we comes to the end. Thank you so much, Jen. Very great insight. You can find us on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on IG, Catalyst Conversation. Jen, where can the listeners find you today? I mean, to get your updates and so on.
Sure, you can always just look for me on LinkedIn, just search Jen Wong, or on Instagram, Jen Wong MY.
All right, great. Thank you so much, and we see you again.
See you.